Greetings and welcome to In-Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. The way that we interact with digital platforms continues to evolve with the technology. Manager of Information Technology at Aegis Business Solutions, Kevin Antoine, he joins us now to discuss cybersecurity and how you can protect your business. Welcome, Mr. Antoine. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to start, let's nuts and bolts. What is cybersecurity? Why do we need it?
Right. Thank you for having me. I'll be glad to share some insight on what is cybersecurity. So firstly, I'll start with the importance of cybersecurity. One, understanding that cybersecurity can impact data, can impact systems against theft and data loss. And why it's crucial is because it can help you safeguard against all types of theft and loss. Of course, to be able to prevent any sort of significant data loss, financial loss, reputational damage, we need to understand that cybersecurity can be very impactful. So what we would look at is just trying to ensure that businesses put some emphasis on the importance of cybersecurity and really try to enhance their cybersecurity posture, or at least put measures in place to help them stand up against any sort of cyber attacks.
I know. I think I might have an idea of what cybersecurity is, but define it for Granny who still want to use that rotary phone and nephew and niece now start to get her on a computer. What is cybersecurity?
So cybersecurity basically protects you against any sort of risk as it relates to systems that you would use. So let's just say Granny's using the traditional Facebook or WhatsApp, any sort of measure that she could possibly put in place to help protect her while she's surfing the net, even any software that you could use really. Cybersecurity will help protect you against those sorts of threats that may exist while surfing net. It's a technical term, but I'm hoping that that would have shed some light in terms of the overarching cybersecurity.
Yes, man, and we're grateful for it. But in terms of the need for increased awareness, because sometimes it feels as though you're now latching onto something, and then there's something else that we need to pay a little more attention to. So the way that there's a thrust towards digitization, digitalization, digital transformation on the whole, does that increase the need for cybersecurity?
Most certainly, simply because, and we've noticed it even at the onset of the pandemic, where we would have seen organizations transition to work from home. Some organizations may have adopted more technology, especially like e-commerce and stuff. So of course, cybersecurity would help protect you when you're shopping online, that sort of thing. And even for businesses, yes, there is a great need for cybersecurity because, of course, the more systems go online, it presents a greater risk because there's more exposure. So like, let's just say prior to the pandemic, persons who may have been going into businesses to buy certain things, physically, they will not have been exposed to certain cyber threats that would only exist online. So of course, yes, I would say that as we adopt more technology, it creates a larger attack surface and that we would need to now secure.
Now, you talk about cyber threats online, so I have to ask what are some of those threats. So take us through some of those listings, and then we'll actually ask for some specific situations after. And I say situations, this is not calling names or anything, but just giving us an idea of what can happen. So we start off with some of those cyber threats, please.
Right, so in terms of some of the emerging cyber threats, we have noticed that as of recently and even prior to the onset of the pandemic, we've seen an uptick in cybersecurity activity across the Caribbean and even globally. So, of course, as I mentioned before, our systems get more integrated. We rely on IoT, Internet of Things. So people have smartphones, people have smart watches, refrigerators, smart TVs, that sort of thing. Those things really increase the risk of cyber threats. So, of course, at an individual level, we would see some social engineering or phishing, as we call it. Those are some of the emerging threats that would exist for particularly individuals, but then also as it relates to businesses. Ransomware has been a trending topic as of recently.
And I don't want to have a short explanation of what ransomware is and some of the other things like phishing. So before we even get to that, and I think we'll do that on the other side, but how important is it for companies? You started speaking about it, but having that strong security measure, because I think sometimes there may be something that is out of the box, first measure, and then you say, okay, well, yes, I'm good. Are there levels to cybersecurity? What are some of those factors that you'll want to look at to say, okay, well, I will choose this version over this version? What are some of those things that we need to be a little more aware of?
Okay, well, firstly, I will say that although we reside in the Caribbean, the threats are global. So businesses really need to be a little more resilient and put some more effort into cybersecurity. Of course, as technology advances, the attacks would become more sophisticated. So in terms of businesses being able to enhance their cybersecurity posture, of course, I think a first step will be to really invest in the appropriate security measures, and that could be firewalls, antiviruses, that sort of things. So, yeah.
All right, I'm going to take a short break. We return speaking with the IT manager of Aegis Business Solutions, Kevin Antoine. Stay with us. We return with more. Welcome back. We are speaking with the IT manager of Aegis Business Solutions, Kevin Antoine. We're actually looking at cyber threats, ways that we can empower ourselves, protect ourselves from them. And, you know, sometimes you think, and I'm glad that you made the point, Mr. Antoine, that even though we are operating locally, there are things that we do that have us potentially at risk from international threats, international size threats as well. But I also want to raise the question, someone who's now starting out and they're deciding, okay, well, this is the amount of money I have and I need to pay for this. Possibly I could kick that can down the road a little bit. Where do we start? What is the basic? What are some of those things you need to have this? You spoke about a firewall, and I almost want to describe it as a basic package, but where do we need to be at when we start?
Well, what I would say is that a good place to start is awareness. Of course, awareness could take many forms. For example, just being aware of what cybersecurity is. That's one part of it. Investing or pursuing any sort of cybersecurity awareness training where you would be educated on the various cyber threats that may be in existence. And then also, I would say being able to evaluate your systems, because a big part of it is being able to identify vulnerabilities that may exist in your system. So if a good place to start is to having something as simple as a vulnerability assessment be executed. So that way you could identify vulnerabilities that exist and then attempt to mitigate them, of course, before they are exploited. So those are some of the things that you could do at that level in terms of awareness. And then I think it's cliche now that we hear a lot of emphasis being placed on having strong or secure passwords, utilizing MFA, multi-factor authentication, and those sorts of things that individuals could use, as well as companies could use as a starter pack to be able to increase their or enhance their cybersecurity posture.
I really appreciate the point of awareness. And sometimes I wonder, what are some of those things, some more of the things we need to be aware of, looking at the difference between HTTP versus HTTPS. What are some of those other things, some other tips that you can share with us in terms of that awareness factor? Thank you.
Well, in terms of awareness, it would be good to be able to recognize what a safe site is, be able to recognize what a malicious email may look like, because a lot of us at some point may have received an email, whether it's related to someone from a remote country trying to get you to help them because they need you to send some funds across before they could send you some funds across. Also, even while browsing the internet, if you look at your browser and you may be searching for something, but of course your search engine is going to return results for you. But looking at what those results look like, it will be a good place to be able to identify what is a legitimate result that you should engage in while surfing the internet, while on your browser. Which link should you click? And then, as you rightfully mentioned, being able to identify a site that is labeled as HTTP versus HTTPS, and the S there really stands for secure. To just be able to identify that, I think that would definitely help.
And I'm appreciative of the fact that you didn't call any names. You talk about a remote country. This actually reminds me of somebody, Aussie Magic, talking about he got an email and that he was a long lost heir, and he was talking about all the things that he's going to do as soon as he gets that money. And he calls a name of a country in that song, but at the same time, we won't touch on it here. But looking at those first steps, looking at the awareness, and I want you to break down some of those terms. Thank you. So what is ransomware? What is phishing? What are some of the ways that we protect against that?
Okay. Well, firstly, ransomware is basically a system or a malicious software that's designed to attack your systems, your infrastructure, then encrypt it, restrict your access, and then demand that you pay a ransom in order to get access to your own data. So from that perspective, we could see that it's basically they're demanding a ransom after they have gotten access to your data. And of course, they will restrict access to you, so you may consider paying that ransom to be able to get back your data. But that's something that's never advised, because of course you will then just be enabling them to pursue similar activities against other persons. If we were to talk about phishing, phishing could come in different forms. Most recently, we've noticed some threats with social engineering. So it can be as simple as someone picking up the phone, calling you, giving you a story, or some people may even do their due diligence. They will go scrub your social media profile to gather as much information as they could about you. So when they write you an email, it seems as if they knew what they're talking about. So that's why it's a good practice to sort of limit what we share on social media. Of course, using social media responsibly. And there may be phishing attempts that come in different forms. Let's just say it could be a text message, it can be an email, those sorts of things.
And it's one thing to say, okay, well, these are some of the things that may happen. It's something else to have a formalized response on a company basis to mitigate against those sorts of actions. What are some of those things that you'd suggest for them to be in place so that organizations on a whole, they have a response? Okay, well, this has happened, this triggers this response. Is this something that you encourage on a regular basis? What are your takes on that?
Well, I'd say definitely. If we were to look at what happens during the hurricane season, or if there's a potential earthquake, we would see a lot of awareness material being published. But when we talk about cybersecurity, we don't see much of that being aired or being published. So I think having an incident response plan is crucial. Of course, you would want to know what to do in the event of a cybersecurity incident, or if you were to fall victim to ransomware. And of course, one thing that you won't want to do is to pay the ransom. But of course, you will want to have certain things in place to be able to help you with the initial response. But then, of course, you would want to be able to get the right help as well.
So where do individuals get that help, Mr. Antoine?
Well, individuals could feel free to reach out to Aegis. Feel free to contact us if you have an incident. And through our partner, CyberEye, we could help you not just to respond to cybersecurity incidents, but we could also help you plan and prepare and monitor and protect your systems as well.
All right, and with that, we want to tell you, thank you so much, Kevin Antoine, giving us an idea of cybersecurity, how we can protect ourselves. And if you have any more questions, you can actually reach out to Aegis Business Solutions. And we just showed some of the information in terms of aegistt.com. That's AEGISTT.com. And this has been In Depth with me, Dike Rostant. Thank you so much for joining us.